Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So this is in response to my student asking about project to build. So this is a project about quiz game that we are going to build using Python list and dictionary. And this is a part of the data structure and algorithm class that we had. And creating your own Python quiz game using list is a fun way to practice programming and engage users. So in this video I'm going to show you a step-by-step guide to build a simple multi-choice quiz game. Okay, so as you can see, I already have a new folder, and then let's talk about the features of this game. What's the features? Number one is we will have a list of questions and corresponding answers. Okay, we're going to create a list of questions with their corresponding answers. Then it's going to be a multi-choice option for each question, so you can choose from A to D. Then the score, we track the score for correct answers. Then lastly, then you give feedback to the user about right answers and wrong answers. Let's start. So the first thing is we need a place to store our question. Okay, so I'll call these questions. All right, questions like this. Okay, so I'll call it .py. So this is a file that is going to hold our questions. So this is how our question is going to look like. We have a variable that is equal to a list, and inside that list we are now passing their questions and the options. So there's question, there's option A to D, and then with the correct answer. So this is how we are going to do. So inside the list we are now having this dictionary and also this here. All right, so this is how our questions are going to look like. Okay, all right. Okay, so this is how our questions is going to look like. And then once we are done, then the next thing we need to do is the running of the file. Okay, so the file that is going to run our this code and where the logic is going to take place. So I can call this main. Okay, so let's call this main.py. What's that? Oh yes, so let's call it main.py. So I'll click on rename, rename, and then I'll call it main like this. You can choose either to use the small letter and capital letter. I'm still speaking the same language, so it's the extension that matters. So main.py. So now inside this main.py I can now write my function and the loop. Okay, so now the first thing we are going to do is we are going to define our function that will run the code. So we'll do def, and then what should be our question, our this now. So I can call it run. This is the function that is going to run the quiz, so I can say run quiz or run the quiz. Okay, that's not correct, so let's just use it, run quiz, and then parentheses with a colon. We can now do, I thought I turned this thing off. Okay, so we can now do here, so we can now do a first thing is we need a variable which is going to be for the score. So we call it score, and then we initialize it to equal to we initialize it to 0. Okay, 0 like this. Okay, let me turn this AI stuff off, disable to completion. Better. All right, so now the AI have gone. Okay, so we now have a variable that is a score equal to 0. So what we are saying is we need a variable that is going to be equal to 0. So now the next thing will be our print, so which should tell users, welcome users, and tell them what to do. So here we'll say welcome. Okay, we can say welcome to our quiz game or welcome to quiz game, whatever. So let's just say welcome to the game or to the quiz game. Let's just write welcome to the quiz game like this. Then the next one will be the instruction. So we can now do a print, and inside that print we're going to pass in the instruction for the quiz. So we say answer the following questions from, you can say answer the following questions. You can say answer the following questions from A to D. All right, so you can ask your user to choose from A to D. All right, and then the correct answer. So now that we have prompted our user and said we need to do something here, we call it string formatting. So we need to move to the next line once this question has already been printed to user, so there won't be next to each other. Now the next one is we need to now have a for loop inside this function. So, and the essence of this for loop is for us to be able to loop through our questions, okay, and then pick the each of the questions, and then for each of the questions an answer will be what given. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. So we say for I in Q, okay, or how do you say it? Okay, we can do it like this: for I in Q. So this is just a variable, you can give it anything you want. Okay, then we call the enumerate function. So what the enumerate function will do is to list out, so it will list out the questions. Okay, so we call the questions. Now this is where it gets interesting. So because we have a question in another file, what do? We need to import our questions. So we come here and import our question. We do something like this: import, and then we call questions. Okay, or we can say from questions, import questions. Okay, all right, so that way it's usable. So this I and Q here, if you are new to for loop, are just variable. So because we want the key and the value, the question and the answer, so we need two variables to loop through, so that we loop through inside the questions that we already have here. All right, so that's what we are doing now. That inside that for loop, what we need to do now is we need to print each of the questions, okay, for the user to pick. So what do? We now call the print function, and inside the print function we'll format it. Okay, so we'll call the f string like this, and then we say questions. Okay, question. Okay, now we need to specify the number. So if it's question 1, 2, okay, so I will now use our I, which is going to hold that value. Then we concatenate it with what? With we increase it by 1. Okay, like this, do something like this, and then we can now then the question also, so we can also format it and say Q, and inside that Q we now call our questions. Okay, call questions like this, call questions. Once we are done, we have to close the quote. So the quote will not close here, the quote closes here like this. The quote will close here like this. Now we now have a questions with the numbers printed for the user. Now, so we need to loop again. Remember, so this is a nested loop. Okay, if you have been in my class, you will understand nested loop. If you don't, there's a video description on loop under this video. You can search for it. So we need another loop. So we can now do for, so for options. So this time we are looping through the options. So we can do it for options. Okay, for option in our option. So we can now call the Q variable from the top. Then inside the square bracket we pass in our question. Okay, you can see that it's seen it already. Okay, for okay, sorry, here we need option, so it will be option. For option, in option, so we do something like this, and then we print the option. Print what? Print option like this. Okay, now once we print the option, the user can choose, right? So we can now call the user input. So inside that same function, okay, we can now call the user to choose from. So outside of this second, so the next one, the user prompt will be inside of our first loop. So because we want the users to choose an answer, so we say user underscore answer. Okay, user underscore answer, and then we say equal to, okay, equal to input. We call the input prompt, so which will prompt the user to enter a value. So we say your answer. So we are going to say either it is correct or not. Okay, I mean, we're going to make it we're going to show the answer the user chooses, either A, B, C, D. So we say your answer is so a space. Now we need to strip the answer the user, whatever we are collecting from the user, we need to strip it so that we remove white spaces. Okay, so we now use we call the dot strip method. Okay, so in case you don't know what dot strip, there's also a video on methods in Python. You can check it in the video description or at the top here. All right, so strip, and then inside that strip we are also calling the dot upper. So we are changing the capital letter. We are changing whatever the user enter into a capital letter. Now once we are done with that, we now have a condition that checks if the answer is correct and if the answer is not correct. So we now have a condition that says if user answer is so what we are saying is equal to, we now call the q, which is, then we now call the questions. Okay, we now call the answer. So remember from our what's it called, now call the, here we're now using answer. Okay, answer. Now we can now print the correct answer to the user if the answer is equal to, if what the user is put is equal to the answer. Okay, so we can say if is equal to this, then a colon, then we hit down, then we can say print. So we print whatever the user has entered so that the user knows whether it is correct or not. Okay, print correct. Okay, we say print correct like this, correct, with exclamation mark, and then you should move to the next line like this. Okay, now we'll now increase the score by 1. So that's another way of us that's a way of us trying to keep track of each of the questions. So we'll call the score variable and then increase it by 1. Okay, equal to 1. All right, then we now have our else clause. Okay, we now have our else clause, so that what if the user enter a wrong password, or a wrong answer, what should happen? We can now print to the user wrong, the correct answer was. Okay, so we say print wrong. Wrong, print wrong like this, and then we say that the correct answer answer is. So now, for us to get the correct answer to the user, we can go back to the list and pick the correct answer for the question that the user has entered an answer. So when we need to format the string here, okay, so put our f format here like this, okay, and then outside here we can now format it. So with the curly brace, with the curly brace like this, and then here we can call the q, okay, and then the square bracket, and here we can now call the answer, and then we call the dots, we call the next line on it, okay, like this, okay, next line, okay. Now that we have done that, we need to print the score of the user if the user has finished. So we need to print the score of the user. So for us to print the score of the user, we need to go outside of this loop and go inside the function. So we can now do something like this here. So we can now do print, okay, and inside that print we can now tell the user that your score is, then remember we are formatting the string, so I'll come here and put an f here like this, and then call the score variable, okay, call the score variable, and then okay, score variable, and then I want to show the user how many questions he has been able to score the right answer. Okay, so I can do something like this. You score out of your score is, so it should be out of, so I will now specify the number of questions that we have. So I'll now call the learn method. So, and inside the learn method I will now pass in our questions variable, okay, and then so like this. All right, now, so we need to also put that if the student score higher and above normal or average or below expectation, okay, something else should happen. All right, so for us to do that, we need a way to show the user that the score is excellent, or so let's go and do that. Let's implement that. So if the score is equal to, so if the score is equal to the length of the, if the score is equal to, so we call the learn method and pass in the question. So we say if the score is equal to the length of the questions, okay, we'll now print excellent. All right, we'll print excellent. So let's print, oh good, so we'll print excellent like this, excellent, okay. And then if it's greater than if the score, so we can now do another else if, so we'll call it elif, score is greater than or equal to the length of our question, so passing questions, okay, we can print good job, keep practicing. So we can print good job, keep practicing. So like this, should be an exclamation mark, keep going, yeah, let's say keep going, Okay, now we need a final clause that will check that. Say else. So the final clause will now print better luck next time. So we say print better luck next time, like this. Now once we've done this, we need to now run the quiz. So for us to run the quiz, we need to call the main alright, so we need to run this code now, and for that we are going to use this. Now because we are not importing this so we'll do something like this. Say main, right, name, and then we'll say equal to redundant main again, main, right. I hope I'm correct. Oh sorry, it should be inside the quote. Okay, then can I have our colon, and then we call the variable, our function name, which is run quiz, like this. So I think here we're having error. Okay, all right, so now our quiz is ready. So let's run it and see what we got. So if I go to terminal, let me go to terminal, that's better. Yes, so let's come here and open terminal like this. Okay, so I'm already doing it inside the quiz. So I'll just do is call Python, and I'll say main.py. Okay, the keyword option is not recognized, line 10. All right, so let's go and do that. So for option in option, okay, so why are we now having this error? For option in option, okay, yes, so for option in option, so I think this is, let's check our question. Yeah, so it's options, not options, so let's correct that. So for option in options, like this, and then let's run our code. Aha, so the first question is, what is the capital of France? Okay, that's Madrid, right? So we have Madrid. Now hit answer, said wrong, the answer is B. Then which programming language is known as the language of AI? Java, Python, C++, Ruby. So I'll say Python. Say correct. Okay, you can see that it's telling me your answer is A, correct. Now what does CPU stand for? I can say central processing unit, so that makes it two correct answers I've gotten so far. So that's correct again because I choose A. Now remember that I'm entering small letter A, so that's the reason of our stripping, what we did here. Okay, so removing the white spaces and then capitalizing our input, the user input. All right, then which planet is known as the red planet? Okay, that's the Mars. Okay, at least I know that one. All right, so your score is 3 out of 4. Better luck next time. So because it is less, it is not equal to the what, to the length of our question. So this is how you can build a simple quiz game in your with list and dictionary. Okay, and this is very understandable. This is very simple, and then you can also improve on this. But how does it work basically? So each question is stored as a dictionary with question text option and correct answer, as you can see here. Then we have a loop that loop through. Okay, in our main.py here we have a loop that loop through each question, displaying the text and option. Then we collect the answer from users. Okay, and then trim the remote white spaces, convert it to uppercase to handle a situation of case sensitivity. Then we compare the user's input with the correct answer and adjust and update the score. All right, then we also provide feedback for the user that okay, the answer you choose is correct, the answer you choose is wrong. Okay, just like you can see here. Okay, your answer is B, correct. So we are giving feedback to the user. Then at the end of the day, we are also displaying the final score for the user. As you can see here, your score is 3 out of 4. So better luck next time. So this is how this program works. And then you can also customize it, add more questions, you extend the list of questions for a longer quiz. So, and then you can also make it more, increase the difficult level. Okay, categorize question into easy, medium and hard. Okay, that will also help. Then timer, you can add a timer to answering question. So if the time is, you can give 1 minute for each question or 30 seconds. So you can add a timer. Then you can store high score, use a file or database to store the best scores. All right, so this is how to build a quiz game using Python, and this is one of Python project that you can learn on your own. All right, so don't forget to like this video, don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. Thank you so much, I appreciate you. Thank you for commenting, thank you for subscribing.